did that one. We did that one. We did this one.
You ever consider throwing the old ones away? They're beginning to smell weird.
It's the musk of companionship.
It's the musk of a lot of things.
Hey! Speaking of musk-smelling things, whatever happened to Ripley's cat in the Aliens franchise?
Jonesy. She leaves him on the company ship before she heads off to LV-426. Presumably he lives a full life after that, which is more than I can say for his owner.
Oh yeah, Jonesy outlives Ripley in cat years, not in human years though.
Yeah, in cryo-sleep years, they both are pushing 90, so...
Which would be like 300 in cat cryo-sleep years. Cat-ho-sleep.
And yet for Ripley, the events of those movies all take place over a couple of months.
Got it. Today's thing is why Voldemort is secretly Gandalf. What do you want? No, stop thinking.
Hey, Marty, who you supposed to be? Clint Eastwood?
Okay, so fuck the cards then, I guess, right? Is that what we're doing? Just abandoning the cards that I lovingly, tenderly put together for us?
Just let them go, man. There, not so hard. Sorry, he's sorry. It was for an important moment of growth.
Man, Ripley really doesn't get a break in any of those movies, does she?
No. After she wakes up in Aliens, she's asked to go fight a whole hive of them after like a couple of weeks. Then she crash lands on that sexless Friar Tuck planet and immediately has to fight an alien dog hybrid. Then, depending on your philosophical views on the soul, that same Ripley who commits suicide at the end of Alien 3 is resurrected in Alien 4 just as the acid spit hits the fan. That's like a solid month of pure alien Ramboing.
Philosophical? Wait, are you saying women don't have souls? Because I disagree, Soren. Katie, did you see that? I disagree.
No, okay. Any time travel movie plot is a complete mind marathon when you look at it from the perspective of the hero. In Back to the Future, Marty McFly spends a week in 1955, only to have Doc Brown screech into his driveway the next day and drag him off to the future. Then back to the present, then into the past again, all in a single day.
I mean, it's like I was just here yesterday.
You were here yesterday, Marty, you were!
Then it's another week in the Old West, and finally he's dropped off exactly where he started. For everyone else, those 2 weeks of temporal mishaps for Marty all happen in a single quiet evening.
Oh, the same thing happened to Ash in the Evil Dead trilogy. His romantic cabin vacation, that was actually months fighting skeletons in medieval times. To all of his coworkers, that's just a long weekend.
Oh, that's a good one. Hey, did you guys all realize that the Evil Dead and Friday the 13th take place in the same universe?
But don't Freddy and Jason take place in the same universe? And in Nightmare on Elm Street, they watched the movie Evil Dead.
Yeah, it's real f***ed up. In Jason Goes to Hell, the final Friday, we see the Necronomicon from the Evil Dead just laying around Jason's apartment, right? And in the Friday the 13th chronology, that actually takes place in 2003.
Wait, Jason Goes to Hell, the early 90s slasher?
Yep, both Jason Goes to Hell and Jason Takes Manhattan are both post 9/11 in the Jasonverse timeline. I mean, I'm surprised you guys didn't know that.
Why would we know that? Why would anyone know that? How's that even possible?
Because you read it on a Jason forum and remembered it?
Not what I'm asking.
Oh, the timeline. How is the timeline possible? Right. Okay, so the first movie starts in 1979, and then the next two movies take place immediately after until Jason is hacked to death by 12-year-old Tommy Jarvis, who is played by Corey Feldman. Come on, none of you guys Friday the 13th fans? Did you even play the new game?
I mean, I watched the first movie, but aren't the sequels all kind of...
Garbage. They're garbage films, Katie.
They have a rich mythology. See, Tommy Jarvis comes back in the sixth film, and he's 17 years old, and he accidentally resurrects Jason using the cemetery fence as a lightning rod.
Accidentally trash.
So that means that the story skips ahead to the 90s, and then in The New Blood, we meet this girl named Tina Shepard, who's like in the same place at the same time, but she kills her dad with her psychic dock-buckling powers. The New Blood skips ahead to 2001 when she's 16 and she resurrects her father's dead corpse to trap Jason in the waters of Crystal Lake.
Just absolute garbage.
Then, in 2002, Jason takes Manhattan. And finally, in 2003, the FBI lure Jason and kill him straight to hell.
Whoa, cool!
Yeah, and that is when we see the Book of the Dead.
Okay.
Jesus. File that under who gives a shit. So what, so Jason is 50 in the final movie?
He's like 30 in immortal Jason years.
Which would be 127 in immortal cat years.
How are you calculating cat years so fast? What have you been doing in your off time?
Oh, speaking of 127, I have one too. 7, the movie, but from the killer's perspective.
Why aren't you answering my question?
Look, it's dated exactly 1 year ago today.
Thanks to Sloth, we know that John Doe's been planning these murders at least a year in advance, all of which culminate in the murder of Brad Pitt's wife and the placing of her head in a fancy package.
Seems that envy is my sin.
Oh, what's in the box?
But none of that could have been planned for longer than a couple days at most. Mills has only been on the case, or indeed in town, for a week. So the decision to decapitate his wife had to have been cooked up at the last minute.
Right, there's even a scene where he says that to Mills.
I'll be readjusting my schedule in light of today's little setback.
But since John Doe is Mr. Meticulous Von Stabby, we can assume that there are 2 other corpses posed elaborately, tucked away somewhere in the city with sins carved into their bodies that the cops just never find. I mean, for John Doe, the entire third act of this film is just improvising a good finale for his Riddler killing spree, and all in a single day. Here's how we know. Mills and Somerset show up at the scene of the Pride murder in the morning. Later that morning, they're at the police station, and John Doe hops out of a cab covered in blood and turns himself in.
You're looking for me.
We also see Mills sleeping in bed with his wife the night before, which means the last time Mills saw his soon-to-be headless wife alive was that morning before he left for cop work. So, John Doe had to have broken into his apartment, murdered his wife, and sawed through her spinal column first thing in the morning. He had to skip breakfast. Then he would have to neatly package the head without getting any blood on the package, find an all-day delivery service, on the Lord's Day, I might add, and convince them to deliver it to a far-off location at a specific time later.
He said he wanted it here at exactly 7 o'clock.
Yeah, and he couldn't just walk into the shipping center just covered in blood. I mean, that means he'd have to change his clothes at a Target bathroom or something.
Which means, to make the scene work at the police station, he had to change back into his bloody murder suit and take the most awkward cab ride of all time to turn himself in.
All with time to get booked and get driven to the desert. That is a lot to manage in a day.
Oh, yeah. It's like murder or double dare.
I could do it. I could kill that much in a day.
I got it. Marvel. Marvel is the answer.
I feel like you weren't even listening to mine.
We know, according to the established MCU timeline, the official one, that the events of Thor, Incredible Hulk, and Iron Man 2 all take place within the same week. All before the events of Captain America, and all after the events of the first Iron Man, where Nick Fury is establishing the Avengers Initiative. So Nick Fury is trying to build a team of superheroes before he knows that Thor exists, that Captain America would be found, that Loki would attack, that Thanos was out there, or even that aliens were real. All he has is a bunch of spin-kicking spy buddies, a retired Ant-Man, a blue cube, and the whispers of a green monster clomping around Brazil. That is a completely unrealistic plan that he got phenomenally lucky for having.
That's true. I mean, Tony Stark says that he's Iron Man, and then Fury just breaks into his house and invites him to be a part of his hypothetical alien-punching clubhouse? That's crazy.
But doesn't he know Hydra exists at that point?
Yeah, but is that really enough to pour billions of defense spending into a color-coded super team that you really have zero evidence of the necessity for? I mean, 99% of the time, that would get you pretty darn fired.
It would get you pretty darn committed. We're supposed to see Nick Fury as this badass genius when what's more likely is that he is the Doc Brown of S.H.I.E.L.D., a discredited maniac stumbling from failed project to failed project until hitting a statistically impossible jackpot. Bam! Daniel did it. Daniel's the best, and he did it without his cards. It seemed the cards were inside him. My cards!
You know, in a way, these cards are your own Avengers Initiative.
How many of those do you actually have?
I don't know, how many consecutive days have we been coming here and doing this? 79, 80?
Well, so it's only been 2.5 months? Feels like much longer.
Well, you've all been rapidly changing your appearance every day, so I can see how it would seem that way. Also, it's a lot longer in cat years, I assume.
I wouldn't know.
There's only...
What? You...
I can't go the other way. I can't divide cat years into normal years. You'd need some kind of like cat machine.
A catculator. Hi there! Thank you for watching. Please make sure to click the C in the middle to subscribe to Crack. There are videos on my left if you want to watch more, and hit the bell if you want notifications for new videos. Yay!
Thank you! Hooray!
Bink.
Bink, bonk.
Bink.